Welcome in, welcome once again to the newest edition of 3 In, 3 Out, the most unique Seahawks recap show in the multiverse. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner, and I am joined by the one, the only, the great Brandon Schultz. Brandon, you might be great, and heck, I might be great. Our Seattle Seahawks, Brandon, right now, I cannot qualify us as great. I just can't.
2 out of 3 isn't bad. So I guess we'll take it, right?
We will take an early meatloaf anytime we can. Hopefully a little paradise by the dashboard light as we get through, and I mean that, get through this 3 In, 3 Out. I do want to say thanks to folks that are joining us right away and joining us live. We're out live on YouTube, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. Brandon, I think let's get right into this. 3 In, 3 Out is about the nooks, it's about the crannies. There were a lot of things that were like the big, huge misses and messes, and you were there with the flockers. Anything you want to share before we do get going with the nooks and crannies, observations from the game, things that are still, bugging you, opportunities missed, any big stuff?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was how annoying all the Bills fans were and how their chants are straight out of, I don't know, 1920s, 1930s. Whenever the team formed, their let's go Buffalo, like that has to be super old-timey.
Oh, I love it, dude. I just picture like a bunch of like Chief Wiggums in the stands, like, yeah, come on, kid, get some.
And then they do this thing where they go, oh, and I know all the people it's giving PTSD to that were at the game because they heard it over and over again.
Yeah, that's no one circles the wagons, right? Like like those Buffalo Bills Mafia. Hey, look, Buffalo's a fun city. I'm a New Yorker, but New York and Buffalo, like a Long Islander or a dude who's born in Queens, you don't even really associate with it, except for it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of part of New York, but very much more like South Canada, right? And that's what it's all they have. It's what they have up there. It's a fun little city. I actually like Buffalo as a town. I've been there probably 4 to 6 times, and I enjoy the city and I enjoy the people. But I also get it. I get this is what they got, because the Sabres have been bad forever. And then there's the Bills. So, and they travel well. So, well, I'm sorry you were annoyed by the chants. I was annoyed by the outcomes and by the play and by the shooting.
Yeah. And by that also. But I think the outcomes and the play directly contributed to the enthusiasm exhibited by the Bills fans who were there. One person I know that we're both not annoyed by, it's our live executive producer, our Ryan 911, coming in with a $9.99 super chat. I'm here for all 3 ins. Don't be turning any ins to outs. We have enough of those.
Oh, it's great. Thank you, Ryan, so much. You're the man. We appreciate you a ton. And I have 3 legitimate ins. I do. If we trend to a little bit of negative town, I don't know what to say. It's just a little bit of when you get smacked like this and you don't look like a very good professional football team, it might be a bit more negative than usual. However, there's always good. There's always the raging yang versus the sober yin. And even in the darkest days, there are plenty to be happy about and plenty of silver linings for sure. So we will get into those. All right, before we get diving into the action, Brandon, I like that action. In fact, we have a whole show, PNW Prop Stars, out on Fridays and Saturdays, the picks, the parlays, everything about that already. I love that stuff. And we're going to hear a little bit from my bookie and what they're offering our Hawkra. Tell us about it.
Yeah, what you want to do is go to mybookie.ag and enter the promo code Hawkra, HAWKRA, because that's going to get you a 100% deposit bonus. So yeah, if you're looking at playing along with our PNW Prop Stars action, you can get involved and do it with a 100% bonus. Promo code Hawkra.
Yeah, sounds good. So mybookie.ag and get that bonus. Let's go. All right, Brandon, I'm going to put this on screen right here. So I am titling it. I'll get rid of the branding in a second. Actually, if you could tackle that. But I am titling it Anything Worth Saving. And, it is 3 In, 3 Out. So the answer is going to be, that there's some things worth saving. So also want to remind folks, again, circling it there, that we are marching towards 5,000. Hit the likes, hit the subscribes. And then when Adam and I hopped on, maybe misery loves company, Brandon, but I just wanted to call out, this actually went over 6,000 views, which for us is a pretty healthy show. So the post-game live reaction that Adam and I did, over 6,000. How many of those are Bills fans just trying to, glom on and ride the wave? I'm not sure, but I'm not mad at 6,000 views for a post-game show. That's pretty cool, dude.
That's good for you guys. I'm glad you were there to cover it because I was not in the mood to be talking post game. So it probably worked out well that Adam came down with a cold, couldn't make the trip, and then had to cover for me. And you were able to cover it as well. And I got to have pizza with all of our fun buddies who were able to make it after the game.
That's awesome. That is good. All's well that ends well. And when it ends with pizza, well, it's ending quite well. So we like all that. All right. So let's get rocking and rolling. There is we don't start with ins. I don't even have paper. Nothing's here. The MVC's broken. Team can't stop the run. Let's hit the whammy and let's get rocking and rolling. What do you say? All right. And yes, I've got some video queued up as well. First one I'm going to call here, Brandon, is just Desire. I was singing maybe the U2 version and I know you love U2.
Oh, one of my favorites. Yeah.
You got all the
U2 and the Buffalo Bills, two of my favorite things.
That's it. You got a tattoo of Buffalo Bono. You got that last time you were out there.
I have a tattoo of Bono, who also has a tattoo of the Buffalo Bills on his chest. Because the tattoo I have of Bono, he's not wearing a shirt.
Right. And he is singing, let's go, let's go Buffalo. So it's great and also horrible at the same time. So I want to put this on the screen. I was trying to make it a little bit more visual. So it's like, okay, when in the game is this as well? So grabbing the timestamp, like little mini innovations here and there.
It's like they used to do on the All 22.
Yeah.
You used to get the down and distance and time. Then apparently one of the innovations was to get rid of it.
It's so weird. Like they just stripped it away. It's like, well, that was actually really useful. The NFL Pro stuff that you show me is quite good, but it's not in the video. It's just kind of down the, you got to go down the columns to go get it. But for us, I think it's useful. So quarter two, 25 seconds to go. It's 7-3 Buffalo. They're on our 12-yard line and it's 2nd and 10. So people could probably start to think about like, all right, oh, thank you, Ryan. Probably understanding, okay, it's 7-3 right before halftime. I kind of know how this ends. What I think is interesting to show, and I'll just go here as well to show the first one is, look, man, some of this effort at this point in the game, I don't think was good enough. And there's 2 players on this play. It's funny. I picked out one, and then just about an hour ago on social media, I saw a couple other people being like, where's the effort from this player? So we'll talk about both. But the one I saw was really irking me, and I was talking with Adam about it after we got done because I forgot to bring it up. I was like, did I see what I think I saw? So we'll go to the videotape here. This will go through for a few seconds before we get to it. So again, it's second and 10 from the 12. You got I think it's Shakir in motion from left to right. Bill's got 4 wide receivers out there, and Allen's under shotgun, right? I believe that's all accurate. Yep. And I think it's Cook off of Allen's right-hand side. Okay, cool. So what I want people to focus on here is we go into a little bit of a drop zone here. And on the bottom towards the screen, we got Tariq Woolen. I'm going to just play this forward. And I want to look at like, is this effort from Tariq Woolen what we expect down 1 score at the end of a tight half where we shot ourselves in the foot? Watch Woolen, and we'll get to another player in a second. Again, he's closest to us on screen. I'll just play it forward. We'll see it again a couple times. Okay. All right. So it's gonna. I have a couple angles here too. So what you'll see on this angle too, Brandon, is for me is like, dude, like I don't understand. I'll pause it as well. I think he tries to bite a little bit on the run from Josh. I get that. But once Kincaid gets this ball, I realize Kincaid's getting the ball at like the 5-yard line. And he has momentum.
Oh, he's already beat. And
yeah, but watch the effort. Like, okay, he's beat, but he's going to the goal line. Imagine for a second, I know Cam Chancellor played a different position. I get that. But you remember how Cam would fight for every freaking blade of grass
Oh,
and
sure.
down to the goal line? And Earl, watch this at the very. He's catching the ball at like the 5. I'll play it forward. What is that? What is that?
Uh,
What is this? Watch
I
this. He's a little push. What are we doing? I slow it down a second later too, Brendan. You can start reacting to it. But man, oh man, did I think that this was not enough high level effort. Just you're covering the dude. Josh might be taken off, but you have a linebacker there, and then you're kind of playing patty cake at the goal line. To me, nowhere near a good enough effort from our cornerback when you're down 1 score and we're about to go into halftime. I was just disappointed by that, Brandon, and wonder if you got takes on it.
Well, it's with Kincaid receiving the ball here. For one, I feel like Woolen, as he's toward the outside, he doesn't break in
Right.
quickly enough as soon as Dalton makes that turn inside to receive the ball. And then you could probably go with both Woolen and Dotson as to why don't you take out the dude's legs? Like why do you just try and push his midsection?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. It's just it seems low effort, and it's
Yeah, and then like Dizzy 91 is saying in the chat too, as he went into the end zone, make him feel it. If he's going to make it there anyway, don't make it easy on him.
Exactly. And your point was where I was going to is like, okay, dive at his legs. He's a tight end, first of all. So Woolen's tall, but Kincaid's going to have a size advantage on you. But you gotta desire contact here. You gotta be like, I'm gonna bring my hat and try to keep this guy out of the end zone. And
also, what is Draymond doing on this play?
so now you're picking that up too. So if you when it goes to the all 22 view, the Draymond stuff, man, like this is what got called out on social media. And I was like, oh, I didn't even see that. But this is 2nd and 10 after a stop at the 12. I mean, what are we doing? And then it's just, and then he's done. I again, for folks that are watching, watch Draymond on this one. He does a little spinorama. He gives it effort for like a half a second.
As though his left arm, and now he plants with his left arm ahead of the snap, but then he doesn't use his arm at all, as if he has no use of it. And he's like spinning and just using his right arm. And it does look very low effort.
It very much. It's like a little bit slow motion. And then once Allen starts to climb the pocket a little bit, if we're watching Draymond now on the left-hand side, he just stops. It's just low effort across the board. And
I know he had a shoulder injury though, because when you loop it back, he only makes a move with his right arm to the shoulder of the tackle before he goes to a spin. It's a really weird move. It just looks weird.
And if he has a shoulder injury, then then he's out there playing hurt, right? And then that's I can understand that, but it's across the board. It felt low effort. It felt just low contact. It's like we're not playing flag football here. We're not playing 2-hand touch. I mean, right there we have it frozen on screen. Woolen is tagging the back of Kincaid, and Kincaid's left foot is on the 5-yard line.
Right.
All right. Tackle him. Try. If you get dragged into the end zone, you get dragged in the end zone. But tackle the guy. So that was, for me, was like, man, that is just way too low effort when you're down 4 points after shooting yourselves in the foot 2 times. I mean, the first friggin' half, they get the big turnover from Job. By the way, is it Job or Joby? I've heard it 2 times now. Do we know?
I think it's Job.
Okay. I've all good. I'll just go with Job. I mean, we get the big turnover. We get the flip the field. And then of course we have the things that shoot ourselves in the foot that I don't even have in our outs, because obviously everybody's talking about Connor Williams and the disaster that was. So got to start there. It's craptastic, but it is what it is. Let's get to some good stuff, because again, I promise you there was some good stuff. Okay, so in number 1, and funny enough, like we ended up talking about Draymond Jones at the end of the second half here, and this one I titled, "Oh, okay, Dre, okay, this is 0-0 game, quarter 1, 10-13 to go. first and 10 on Buffalo's 45-yard line. And what I thought was pretty cool about this play, and I'll bring this back up on screen here. We just got to rotate through for a second. So where I was critical, we were critical of Draymond there with that effort. Well, on this play, what's kind of neat is like Mafe, we'll describe it to the folks that are listening on the audio too. So you got, again, Allen and shotgun, Cook to his right. They're in 11 personnel with a tight end to the right-hand side is what it looks like. Is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, tight end to the left-hand side. And so you got Mafe way off the edge on the left-hand side and Draymond top of the screen off the edge. And Mafe gets the sack here, so I'll play it through. Mafe gets the rip sack. Super cool. And beautiful play. Gets in there, beats his guy to the edge. This is a good defensive line. But what I wanted to also focus on was here, talk about use of left arm. If we go back and watch Draymond here, he gets in, pushes the guy back, sleds him, gets skinny, rips through, and Josh Allen is super preoccupied with him that he doesn't even notice that Mafe is actually closing in too. They both basically arrive at the same time, get the fumble. It's a beautiful play. I just wanted to give Draymond some love on this play. Mafe gets the sack. That's awesome. But I love how Allen gets fixated on Jones's presence and doesn't even know that Mafe is there and gets the strip. Now, just like everything else in this game, fumbles don't go our way, ball doesn't bounce our way, et cetera, et cetera.
Devin Witherspoon gets called for illegal contact, even though the dude ran into him.
Oh, that was so egregious, right? I mean, I forget exactly what part of the game that was in, but the guy, I mean, at what point where are we in the league that a receiver could just run red dead into you and it's on the D-back? It's like, come on. Like, there are actual rules that you cannot do that. And And what was that? Was that another third down that they extended because of that?
No, this was it was right after a false start, so it was 1st and 15.
Gotcha.
But it was on the drive that they scored a touchdown. So they went from 1st and 15 that Devin Witherspoon, then it gave them a 1st and 10. So after you had backed them up to 1st and 15, then they get an automatic first down because of the Witherspoon penalty.
Right. All right. Well, any other pieces of love for Mafe or in this play with Draymond? Again, if he did injure his shoulder, this was actually chronologically, this happened before the first out. So if he was injured, then so be it. But any love for our edges as we're seeing them do their work?
I'd just like to preemptively put in a word with Phil on this one, because this should have accomplished my wish. And yet we got a BS penalty that called it off.
Fair enough. All fair. And, so excuse me. I love seeing the effort and stinks that it gets called off and all that, but the effort's there here and it's solid play by our boys. So, and in a game where there's not that much to cheer for, these are the kind of ends you're going to get. Ryan, I hope these suffice because they still show quality ball. This is like staring at Vader. It's like, there's good in there. I know it. But Brandon, it might take a little bit more. We might need like another trilogy to extract that good from this Vader, because right now we're not a very good football team. All right.
I mean, when you're picking out the one, it didn't even register as a pressure by Pro Football Focus standards.
Hilarious.
I guess it wouldn't have counted because the play didn't count. So that would have been Draymond's one pressure on the day.
Yeah, hilarious. All right. Well, I tried. All right, now let's get to our next out. Oh man,
I almost lost track of the whammy after that one.
Well, Whammy might want to run away at this point in the season. I know we're 4-4, and I probably should be a little bit more optimistic. But it's been ugly 4-4. All right, out number 2. I'm going to call this one sweep the leg. And of course, for those, the children of the 80s, I'm referencing, Daniel-san, the Karate Kid, and Cobra Kai and the whole evil dojo, or who really was evil. We don't know, because the Netflix series kind of turned that on its head. But of course, sweeping the leg is a known thing there. Put him in a body bag, Johnny. Quarter 4. So it's a blowout. I didn't put the score here because at this point in the game, it's a blowout. Quarter 4, 7:37 to go. Nope, we don't. It's 4th and 3. So Buffalo's actually punting. what I want to call out is, look, there were lots of moments in this game, Brandon, where we were sloppy, undisciplined, took stupid penalties, just looked poorly coached. And Jarek Reed comes back from a long injury, right? He tear a knee maybe 6 games in last year. Is that about right? Does that feel about right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Right, something like that, right? And he was a good special teamer, and he had a couple of moments where he popped as the safety last year, and I liked what I saw from Jarek Reed. What I don't like, and I'll put this back on screen. What I don't like is, I don't know if you remember this play, Brandon, but um, they're actually punting. I'm not sure. Did you, by the way, I'll just pause for a second. Did you go back and rewatch it at all? Yeah, no, it's a tough game to
I mean, I
rewatch.
did, but
Yeah,
by this point in the game, I
right,
was
right.
merely listening to the commentary.
Yeah, and that's actually why I brought this one up, because I'm like, I bet you so few people were either not paying attention at this point or just, and I get it. I'm not saying I'm a better fan because I dug into this one, but this to me was another microcosm of, this is stupid play from an undisciplined moment from what is an undisciplined team. You got Gino throwing balls at people's faces. You got other things that are happening, late hits and whatnot. This is all so dumb. So they punt the ball, and you'll see it down here on the side there. He does a little kick, and I'm going to give you a better picture of it in a second. He ends up getting a tripping penalty.
Mhm.
Look, he's not a right, and we'll see this a couple times here. Put it in slow motion, and like, you shouldn't do this. And, I know it's a little comical, but like, a couple things here. Number one, this is dirty. This is not an okay play in the playbook of football. You could pop some dude's knee out. You could break your own leg doing this. You just came back from a long stint on the IR, and it's your first game back. This is stupid. You're not a right tackle. You're not a left tackle protecting the blind side of your quarterback who's about to get crushed from behind. Yeah, do whatever you got to do in that circumstance. Trip the guy. Who cares about the penalty? This is a punt. It's 31-3 at this point. So what are we doing? This is not a good idea. It's bad form. And I don't think there's a lot of room for this in the game of football, dude. So I just wanted to call that one out as more undisciplinedness. And Jarek Reed's got to wear it out. I'm sure nobody cares about this, but I do.
No, I think I was laughing because it fits in with the sweep the leg
Yeah.
title perfectly, because just like we're asking Johnny to take out Daniel's legs, that appears what Reed's doing here.
Yeah, it's an interesting. Yeah, I'm sure they don't teach it this way in spring, in training camp. And
The officials haven't been calling a lot of this, I think, as closely as they should either, but they were calling a lot of things in this game, and so I'm not surprised that they called this one.
well, I'm not surprised
It's
they
pretty
called
egregious.
this. Yeah, this one, Brandon. It's like I get it. Sometimes you get like the cute tripping, like, and I mean, like a lineman will be beaten, and then they'll pretend to go to the ground, like they're floundering a little bit, so they throw their body around and they flail their legs and they attempt to get a trip. There's none of that happening here. This is straight up a dude kicking a guy's knees, and
Mhm.
and I don't think it's good form. And I just hope Reed does not do this again. And in fact, I hope in the film sessions they talk about this and be like, this is not how we play football. This is stupid, and it's going to get called every single time. You're going to hurt your team, potentially hurt yourself, and maybe hurt a fellow player out there. So anyway, that's an out for me, dude. I hated it, so it had to be. All right, let's get to another in. Actually, in number 2. Okay. So speaking of chants and let's go Buffalo and all those things, right? Now, not the maybe not the most famous shout song, but Brandon, if I were to say shout, shout, what would be the next line you would say?
Oh gosh, I have no idea.
This is not you make me want to shout, right? So we're in
Yeah,
music. We're in the music world here. How about if I said shout, shout? How about now? Is that getting you a little closer?
shout it out loud.
Yeah, yeah, shout, shout. Yeah, whatever, these are the things that
This is not
I
the
yeah.
song. This is not a band I listen to. I'm familiar with the song, but it's not.
Not okay. So the Tears for Fears is not working for you. All right.
No,
So,
no. I'm
all right.
sorry.
Well, that's okay. I like Tears for Fears, by the way. Big Chairs are a very, very good album. But anywho,
Amy's with you. Amy
yeah,
knows.
good. Yeah, there you go. There we go. Let it all out. Thank you, Amy. Shout, shout, let it all out. These are the things that I think I could do without. All right. So 7-3 Buffalo. So again, it's close. 7-3. Quarter two. Only 38 seconds to go. It's third and
This is right
7.
by the other one.
Right by the other one. Right by the other one. And it's these things pile up for me because this is where we lost the game.
Mhm.
But between not, I also parking for a second. We're down 7-3. We are at the goal line again. And in the stands, did you want them to make it 7-6, kick the field goal? Just were you cheering for points, or were you saying no, go for it on fourth down? Where was your gut in that moment?
Oh, on the 4th and 1?
Yeah, the one, yeah, before he gets tripped up by Connor Williams' foot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
did
go for
you
it for sure.
go for it? Okay, I was. I don't know if it was a feeling or a vibe. I was more along the lines of like, hey, I have no problem taking points right here.
Hmm.
0-0. Probably because we had,
Because you would have rather lost 31 to 13.
uh, you know, yes, that's a little bit less of a loss for sure. It's 7-6, and then even if they come down and score, fine. Then you're still within one score. My big fear in that moment was we don't get this. The Bills come down, they score, they get the ball to start the third quarter, they score. And unfortunately, it's exactly how it played out. Now, what one of the bigger contributors to it was, of course, this play here. So we're going to play it forward. Again, this is 3rd and 6. Josh is back to pass. They have illegal formation, and he throws it away. It's actually 3rd and 7, I think. It says 3rd and 6 in the field. But I wanted to call out that I think that Reed is doing what somebody has to do, because
Mhm.
I'm not sure it's happening in practices. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know who's saying what in the locker room. At least when I saw this, I could say, all right, he gives a damn. And he's doing what a veteran should do to a second-year guy who made a bad mistake against a team where you can't make these kind of mistakes. You cannot give Josh Allen first downs where we got 30 seconds to go in the half, where they're about to go kick a field goal. So a stinky situation, but love for Reed for stepping up, being the veteran that he is. Love to hear you talk about it, dude.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Ryan on this one. We are on an in, right? No, because this feels like one of those out type moments, but I understand where you're going with it in terms
Yeah.
of leadership and accountability. I thought that Reed took it a little bit too far on the sideline, and maybe even took it a little bit too far here, just because it almost seemed like a Buffalo player was about to break up these two.
True. That's
But
true.
like, hey guys, calm down here. We don't need
Yeah.
to be, getting into it. Um, yeah, it's Hall, a big out by him, but as far as recognizing it right away and acting on it, it's good to do it right after.
And I know that they got back in it on the sidelines. I didn't see later if that was still, if that was still Reed initiating that, or if that was Hall reacting to it again on the sidelines. Do you know? I wasn't sure.
It looked like I couldn't tell because it looked like, if Reed would have said something, it felt more like Hall was going toward him. So if there was something else, said on the sidelines, who knows? But
Mm, yeah. And overall, I think there was some good commentary out on Twitter. Bruce Irvin specifically, there's just random Seahawks fans being like, this team's a disgrace. This team has nothing. This team's infighting, and whatever they're piling on, right? And they were like, oh, the LOB never did this, and that's what kind of triggered Bruce Irvin. He's like,
they did
he's
a
like,
lot.
he's like, this was the VMAC every single practice. This is not the problem. So it was kind of cool, I thought,
I'm pretty
to.
sure they did it on the field too. So
Oh yeah,
I
oh
I,
yeah,
I don't think that
oh
we
yeah.
can.
Yeah. Sorry, he wasn't trying to. Sorry to cut you off, but he wasn't trying to be like, "Oh, we only did that at the VMAC." I think he was making the point that they were such a group of like alpha dudes that, yeah, whatever. Even at the VMAC, they would be screaming at each other top of lungs like this, right? So,
This was a frustrating drive, though, because I mean they gave
yes,
up a
yes,
3rd and 5 where Josh Allen fumbled the ball and then kicked it to Ty Johnson for a first down. So you had that. You had James Cook going for an 18-yard run. You gave up another 3rd and 3 where Josh Allen got 9 yards. So you gave up multiple third downs. And then you got to this 3rd down where seemingly you would have had it just by, technically, I don't think it would have, because wasn't there another? Yes, they
there was
had. It wasn't
not a
it
false
wasn't
start.
a
It was
legal
a procedure.
formation. It
Yeah,
was the 2 guys hadn't been set, so it was legal shift.
right, right. So is that one where you would they replay it, or is that something where you could just say, will you decline it? I guess you'd replay it. Is that right?
It was an incomplete. The result was an incomplete pass,
Right.
so they
I
may
think it would
have
have just been fourth
declined
down. Yeah.
They could have declined it. And I think they
Right.
do allow it to go.
Yeah. That makes sense. I think, and people were asking the Discord too. They're like, "How could you have a penalty on what would be a dead play?" And this actually happened either 2 weeks ago or the week previous, and I gave an explanation. I think I'm right, in the sense that, look, if you don't have the threat of, because nothing can take away that penalty unless of course you could counter it, right? I think you could have a penalty and they could like cancel each other out, or you could have a personal foul and it supersedes it. And I think the reason the NFL has that in place is simply because, like, if you didn't have the threat of that, then people could take cheap shots. They could
Oh
take
yeah,
headshots and be like, "Oh, doesn't matter. It's a free play for the defense." You could literally take some dude's, head off then. So they have to keep that there, keep that stick above their head to say, like, no, you still got to play by the rules. Otherwise, you get punished like we did here. Because we saw this now twice in an early season come back to bite us, where we had personal fouls on a play where the other team already drew a penalty. And that's just
right.
like, again, super undisciplined. To
Well,
your
think
point,
about it. If say
yeah,
the offense, the clock's winding down to 0,
mm,
it's going to be a delay a game, and the defender just takes a straight shot at the quarterback and
correct.
takes him out, then you'd have to call unnecessary roughness, even though it would have been a delay a game penalty. Like you can't have you
Right.
can't have that.
Yep. Correct. And to your point, a very frustrating drive and also kind of unfortunately predictable. This was like, it just felt like, oh my gosh, I was deflated. I'm like, they're going to score. They're going to score before halftime. And it felt that way. And then it
It
came to
was
be,
your negative energy.
yeah,
That was part of it too.
I'm usually not the negative Nancy. Just after the couple of botches, the hike over the head and then tripping on his legs. I'm like, my word.
Here at this point, I'm thinking, okay, yes, they went for it on 4th down. I mean, I would have liked to see the play that they would have run, but
Yeah. Nice.
they had that shot to get in on 3rd and 1 too, and at that point, I was thinking, hey, yes, you went for it. It's still 7-3. It's almost to the end of the half. This is the time for the defense to step up, get
Yes.
a stop. You go into halftime and shoot. Maybe even the defense gets a stop to where you can kick a field goal before the end of the half. But it still felt like with all the mistakes that had happened at that point, you had an opportunity, and they took advantage of that. That it really did turn on that roughing call there that extended it and then allowed them to go for the touchdown.
Perfect segue into our last out. Hit it.
From out number 3 to out number 4, which is labeled out number 3.
Hey, I still give Reed credit. I do. I give him. And actually, Adam and I talked about that. I was like, yeah, man. To me, like, not in the post game, like we chatted for a bit after too, after we wrapped. And he's like, that should be an in. I'm like, and I was like, you know what? I agree with you, because A, it's going to be hard to find some ins anyway, and B, I agree, it should be an in. So that one's dedicated to Adam. So if you don't like it, you could bang on his door in the Discord. Yeah, take it up with him. So I'm calling this one "Scheme Me Out," as a little play on, like, how would you say it? Like ream me out type thing, right? So there's no video for this because it happened. I mean, here's why: because it's been happening since week 1, and we keep seeing it. what I want to talk about and open up for discussion. You mentioned, hey, James Cook had an 18-yard scamper on that drive to go up by 2 scores before the half. And would they end up with over 150 yards running again? And that was with Josh Allen only having like 25 yards. So it was basically mostly Cook, a little Ray Davis.
Mhm.
But and I've been banging this drum for a while that even dating back to the Patriots game, it's us getting a Julian Love field goal block, not stopping Ramondre Stevenson. Skylar Thompson led Dolphins just stopped running the ball for some reason. And every other game, a Bijan game, we're just getting, even when we win, we're getting run over. My problem, what I want to discuss is, that I bring up and talk about Maddie and Griffin from Seattle Overload quite a bit. The X's and O's guys, they really know their stuff. Something in the preseason they brought up after McDonald got hired, they were one of the only dudes out there who were, like, hey, McDonald is a defensive guru and this should be fun. But they were like, but if you look at the data, the second half of 2023, the Baltimore Ravens were bottom of the league in run defense. And it wasn't like, 15th, 17th, 20th. They were like 30th, 31st, something like that in the second half of last year. Now, you would never think that because the defense was so dominant. And the hypothesis, they were like, look, they turned the ball over a lot and they created a ton of negative plays with sacks and it masked some of the stink. Well, Brandon, this is all stink right now. We are not turning the ball over. We're still getting good pressure, but not a lot. Last few games, not a lot of sacks. Our run scheme, it's like we've all heard about McDonald's, what he wants, what McDonald wants from the run, guys up front. They're not getting upfield. They're not playing like 49ers or like Jet style defense. It's meant to be like, hold your ground, let the linebackers choose the right gap. And this way you could play too high and you could mitigate being outgapped. Well, Brandon, just to wrap it and pass it to you, it's not working. So what should we do about it? We are getting out schemed every single game. And as bad as the offense, or as sputtering as the offense has been, still to me, the biggest problem at large is we cannot stop the friggin' run. McDonald has to own this. What should we do about it?
Well, I think the easy answer is just to actually play for the run more often on early downs. It does seem like they're content to kind of keep the defense spread out a little bit, have relatively light boxes on first and second down, as though, and I can understand it from the perspective of, yeah, okay, if they want to run, let them run. And, because we think we're going to be able to stop them for a relatively short gain. But they aren't getting those 1 and 2 yard stops. It's more of the 3, 4, 5 yard run plays, and those up the middle, I think, are kind of eating our lunch.
Yeah. Very few tackles for losses, right? Ernest Jones had 15 tackles. So he comes in on a Thursday, plays on a Sunday. And, I know everyone's going to remember the play. He got run over and his helmet comes off. I get that. I know that's the one that's going to stick out in your head. It stinks. With that, I watched this back today and I'm like, oh, I think Ernest Jones is doing more of the things that they were not happy with Baker, where Baker was just making the wrong choices. I could see over and over, like, oh, okay, I'm watching for that now because I've just learned it in this like last half a year. And I'm like, oh, I could see what the difference is, the delta there. So I think he played actually pretty good in a sea of not so good. But to your point, or did you get a chance to watch the Steelers Giants last night?
Just a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, obviously Russ was balling out and that's fun. And he's freaking throwing 40-yard darts.
I mean, if you're going to compare us to the Steelers defense, though, that's
no. It's not even Steelers. It's just more like around the league. I understand they have a very talented D. It's and that's fair, by the way. What you're saying is fair, but it's also the Giants too. It's just that, like, look, yes, you're going to give up, your 5-yard run, your 8-yard run, your occasional 16-yard bust play, but the other teams are very much mixing in lots of, all right, that only went for 1.5 yards, or that lost 2 yards. we just lost our way there, Brandon. So I just wonder if there's other things that you're feeling, or do you think we have more personnel changes to make? I mean, do you think we are just, because I look across the line and I don't think we have a personnel problem. I just don't think that's the issue.
No, I think we do.
I mean, you think it's do you think our front four or front five is personnel issue? I mean, I don't know. Versus scheme, I'm saying.
Yeah, the front four, when you're talking about whether it's they have the dudes up the middle that should be able to stop the run. I don't think we saw Hankins in there for a lot of run defense, which it feels like he's one of the guys that you would want in there for stuffing the run. And Mafe, I think, is very versatile. He's a guy that you would want in there on rundowns. I think we're still missing a good solid edge guy. I don't feel like Hall is that great at I think there's a little bit of room for improvement. I think where the personnel issues are, and Ernest Jones is obviously one of the spots where they are looking to improve because they needed to. And Dotson, I guess I'm still kind of in wait and see mode now that they've made the shift to see if Dotson and Jones can be those guys. And I just don't expect it to be, right there week one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Derek in the chat saying a lot of people saying we shouldn't have let Bobby go. I'm not sold on that. Bobby would have been an improvement over where we were at the first 6-7 weeks of the season. Is Ernest Jones and Bobby? That to me seems I bet in terms of stopping the run, they're going to be very similar.
And I know that Richard Sherman went off on his podcast about that idea too. I can't go back.
What did he say?
Oh, he was basically like that Seattle letting Bobby walk is an all-time mistake. And allowing him to come back for a year and then walk and go with Dan Quinn and juxtaposing that versus what we're getting from our run defense. So he's like, it's an all-time mistake to not keep that veteran there and try to bring, other young players around him. But I was very critical of Bobby the last few years, being like, hey, his speed is gone. And I was very much more concerned about we can't cover the middle of the field. So therefore,
still can't.
Well, and that's exactly that. You nailed it, dude. You 100% nailed it. So I'm like, I can't throw stones there. I was critical of Bobby, and I was like, we need more speed because we're getting exposed over the middle of the field. Okay, we have more speed. Our run defense is bottom tier, and we're still getting burnt by Kincaid or Shakir and dudes that work the middle. So, it's not even damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's just damned. It's just we are not doing it, and we're losing the battle up front, and we're not doing great drop zone coverage and being successful there either. So I just want to tie a ribbon on that and say, so if we could get Bobby back right now, I'd freaking grovel to get him back. It would greatly improve our run defense overnight because he was still good at that. Side to side, if they're doing stretch plays like, Miami style, things like that, and really stretching to the sidelines. All right, there's going to be diminishing returns, but straight up strength through contact and stuff like that, and knowing where to be. Now, Bobby was still very good at that, even in his last season with Seattle. So, okay, well, at least we got to talk about Bobby Wagner tonight. That's fun, right? So, hey, we talked about Russ, about Richard Sherman, Bobby, Cam Chancellor.
Let's do Cody Barton now.
All right, hit that whammy. Almost as much fun about talking about Cody Barton being good on the Broncos because he's playing good football and they're 5-3. It is what it is. And again, no video for this. However, this is an in. I'm going to call it punt of the family. And look, all year long, and we're scraping the bottom of the barrel and we're about to talk about punt game. And this is what we're going to do. All year long, I've been waiting for Dixon to have a flip the field type game where we are flipping the field and consistently putting the other team like at the 5-yard line, 7-yard line, within the 10-yard line. Dixon was awesome in this game. He had 2 punts over 60 yards. He had He had fair catches like the 7-yard line. He had three or four, I think, that were stopped at the 10-yard line and in. He had a pretty heavy workload. He was sensational. And I'm not saying this to be like, oh, I'm calling out a punter and isn't that cute? I'm saying it because Brandon, in a game where you get a near pick six, where you do get, you have an almost strip sack, you have another fumble that you don't quite get, and you have a punter that is doing the thing you got to do against good teams. The other stuff for us to be competitive in this game was there, and then we just did the dumbest crap ever and shot ourselves in the foot. So I want to give Dixon some love. In my opinion, he's having his worst year so far, his worst year as a Seahawk, by far his best game. Let's hope this kind of just continues, and maybe, just maybe, next time we pin a team at the 5, we don't let them drive 95 yards. So I want to give some love to our Aussie kicker. That's a great game by him, and maybe it matters next week. It didn't this week, but that's not his fault.
Yeah, I was sitting next to Flocktimus Prime during the game.
Oh, nice.
Well, more accurately, his son, who was attending his first game, but sitting next to both of them. And the first punt of the game, Dixon, nailed it about 61 yards.
Yeah, he boomed it.
And then he really bombed it on that second one, 68 yards. And I think the punt returner was so baffled by how deep it was that he actually returned it from the goal line.
Yes.
And as it was in the air and dropping down, Philoctimus was to my left chanting MVP, MVP. So I'm glad to see Michael Dixon getting an in for a good game by him.
Yeah, that's great. And we didn't, and folks might be thinking we colluded on that beforehand. That I'm hearing that story, live fire with y'all, right? First time ever. And you're seeing this, that I put this in as an in. You don't know what I'm going to put in either. So that's kind of magical. That brings a smile to my heart there, that like Flocktimus was there with his kid and y'all were recognizing in real time that he's having a game. He's having a game, and punters matter. Maybe against the Rams, Brandon, we get to put him back there. We heat up Stafford and we get a pick six, because that's the kind of stuff that happens. You put a team at the 2, you get a safety. You put a team at the 5, you get an interception, right? So we need that next shoe to drop, but a piece of that is Dixon doing his job. So I love that. So, all right, well, hey, and Ryan, I hope you're still there, our executive live producer. Are those enough? Are those 3 ins? Are we good?
I feel like it has to count for something. It's an awfully tough ask on a 3 in, 3 out day to find 3 solid ins on a day where it was a desert, man.
There were, I keep a ledger. I just pencil and paper during the game. Very, very often, I can tell you basically within the first 15 minutes of a game or 20 minutes of clock time, I could tell you all right, is this game going to be close? Are we probably going to win? Or are we not going to compete in this game? It's usually pretty accurate. And the outside of the ledger was just piling up. And I didn't even talk about those things because they were the big egregious ones, but I jot them down while I'm watching, but there was other stuff too. I'm not sure, Brandon, if you saw, sorry to talk about more outs, but there is more to talk about. Did you see some of the blocking from JSN kind of getting called out on social media too?
Ooh, I don't think I saw any blocking called out for him. He's not a guy that I guess I think of as our blocking wide receiver, though.
Yeah, for sure. But he's out there, and of course with no DK too.
It's like calling out Tyler for blocking. Like if we're asking these dudes to block, what are we doing?
Yeah, well, you'd hope they just get in the way, right? So anyway, it was again about your choice. Like, are you choosing to get better at this? So there was some stuff out there about that as well. Yeah. But either way, okay, let's leave the outs behind us. We do not have an MVC because winners get sprinkles. That's the way it goes. We do not have a brand in. Sorry, Brandon, you don't get one this week.
I'll give it to Josh Jobe for the INT. That was like the one positive play, right?
That was a great play. Good read. I wish he got in the end zone, 2020 hindsight, right?
Way to turn my into an out. Thanks a lot.
Well, well, when you, I know where you sit, right? So, what was your viewpoint of that? Did he look like to you like, oh, he's gonna score? What was your take in the moment?
Oh, well, seeing it from the vantage point we had, it did look like Allen was going to be in position to make the play. And I don't think that any kind of patience on Job's part would have given him any more patience would have allowed some of
Mhm.
the Bills offensive linemen to catch up. And so I think he played that about as well as he could.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, I see some other folks chiming into that. JSN's got to be better, or we got and Amy saying that it wasn't very impressed either. So, hey, well, look, still year two, year and a half in. He did have what, 6 catches, 69 yards with the DK vacuum. So we'll see. Hopefully, he keeps on just doing real well. I actually had him. He had a nice catch too. He had one of the better catches of the game when it was already wet and slick out there. It was this pass is a little bit high and kind of over his head, and he really hauled it in for a nice first down. So not all bad, right? This is 3 and 3 out. Never is it all bad. All right. The thing we are never going to skip, Brandon, ever, is of course our From the Flock. Before we do get to the Discord to read our From the Flock section, we want to welcome people who are here live. If you have other ins and outs you want to contribute now's the time to do it. We'll put them on screen as well. And what should folks be doing if they want to join the reindeer games? Because it's almost the holidays already. They want to join the reindeer games in our Discord and
It
elsewhere.
is about that time. Getintheflock.com if you want to join us. You can even become a free member. It's the holidays. We'll give away free memberships at getintheflock.com. That way you can keep up with everything we got going on. But of course, if you want to chip in $3 or more, you get into our Discord, you get to hang out with us. We get into our Seahawks game day chat. We have our 3 in, 3 out channel that we're going to feature right now, where folks left an awful lot of outs this week.
It was heavy-handed. And speaking of ham, we're going to start with right hand Dan. He says, in crowd sounds loud at least. And it on the TV copy or on the TV, it did sound loud. I know there were a lot of Buffalo fans there, and you could give a firsthand account of
Yeah.
how much Buffalo was there. But but whatever Seahawks fans were there, they were loud. It sounded awesome. And I actually have a small vignette to talk about, but I want to pass it back to you since you were there. What was it like for you?
There was a lot of noise being made. There were multiple false starts by Buffalo,
Mhm.
so you knew the crowd was getting into it. It was a very disjointed, though, at first, because whenever there would be a play, like a running play of about 5 or 6 yards by Buffalo, and there were enough claps that you weren't sure if it were the Bills fans clapping for a
Mm,
relatively successful run or Seahawks fans clapping for a 6 yard gain because, hey, at least
not
it
bad.
wasn't a first down run.
Right, right. Oh Lord, yeah, gotcha. So some of that was tough to parse, and I had texted you that my friend Kate was out that way. She lives in Buffalo, and I was like, hey, if you see the girl with the Wu Tang Bills hat, tell her I say hi. And so she was tweeting during the game, and she's like, this stadium is loud AF, and she went to the Kraken game the night before, and she was like raving about. By the way, she was raving about like the city, the sports venues, the food. And she posted something today. She's like, food choices at other venues. And it's like this beautiful buffet of great looking food. And it was like food choices at Highmark. And it's like this horrible cheese sandwich. So, ragging on her own hometown and saying that like Seattle did it really, really well. But she was impressed from her perspective that it was really loud in that stadium. So, and she's an outsider that goes to a lot of the Bills games. So,
And Bills fans there were nice enough to recognize the championship banner that was hanging above the field too. They were yeah, they
yeah.
picked up on that.
Mhm.
Amy Holmes giving the in for hanging out with the little flockers at the game. We got to hang out with Amy the night before the game. We went to the drunken pizza place after the
Mm.
game, and so yeah, good time hanging out. Oh, and Amy even joined us for breakfast. So yeah, it was a good time, back to
Love it.
back days, and had a good time hanging out.
I have I have all I believe all of that. Amy's in it to win it. She's there to kind of hang, and I love that about her. And then the whole flock. How was Drunken Pizza, by the way? Was because that was a newer place you all were checking out, yeah?
Yeah, it was. Well, it was the same. It was the same place as the pizza place we went to, and so it's the same pizza ovens.
Ah,
Uh, Not as efficient as the former pizza establishment, but still good pizza.
still good pizza. Okay. What is it? Wedding Crashers was like, good pizza, bad pizza. It's pizza, right? So that's delicious. All right. So back to the Discord we go, and I giggle every time. The name is I Like to Touch My Bobo. This is a triumvirate of outs here. Out. Connor Williams. You know why. And I'm not going to read the rest of that. We do know why. Out. Hall for not using his head and getting a roughing the passer and the penalty for no reason. Obviously, we talked about that. We turned that into an in somehow. And he says, out on a day as sloppy as Sunday. Yeah.
One catfishing rushing
There you
yard.
go. Well, yeah, there we go. As a day as sloppy as Sunday, one catfishing rushing yard in the first half. I did not realize that till just now.
Oh yeah,
Or I forgot about it and willfully didn't ever want to think about
they
that again.
highlighted it on the
One,
broadcast.
one rushing yard. Disgusting. Okay, cool. Next.
We got Josh DeHuman with the out. Connor Williams costing the Seahawks 11 points. Just 11? Josh Jobe with the first career interception, giving Allen his first INT of the season.
Yeah, gotta love that. That was a really nice play. Now, I did feel that Jobe got picked on a bit, but it's also like, who didn't? But I felt Jobe got picked on. Like, just when they needed a third down play, Allen was picking on him a bit. But hey, man, we didn't know who this guy was a couple weeks ago, and now he's played 2 games in a row, and he got a pick on Allen, so good for him. All right, we got Delwyn, our Australian friend, saying out, not benefiting from any of the dumb luck that happens. Yeah, just strip sacks,
Yeah.
kick sacks, and everything else. And
football, yeah.
No luck.
The snail with a live out. The NFL not selling gold jerseys for Hall of Fame players. I know you want a gold Marshawn jersey. Hey, once Marshawn gets into the Hall of Fame, we can start lobbying for some gold jerseys.
I mean, and also, guys, this is the maker economy. You can go make your own. Well, you can go make one and probably sell it to a lot of people. All right, we got Car in the Discord. I think she's hanging out live too. Carly in. This is kind of cool. She says in DK comforting Gino, and got
what a diva.
Gotcha. I don't wear my glasses because it's hard with these, and I can't read because I don't make it big enough.
See without my glasses.
Yeah, my glasses. I'll have my glasses, so I have them. All right, so DK comforting Gino. God, what a diva. That's what she was going for. She deserved the reading that way.
Out from Amy. Connor Williams sucking the life out of the team. Man, oh man. Yeah, I do want to defend Connor Williams in one respect. And that on the fourth and goal play,
yeah,
I wonder if Gino was not in position the way he should have been. How many times do you see a quarterback when they're lined up? And part of this too, we could blame this on coaching, because how often is Gino under center? Maybe he forgot.
Yeah,
But he was standing with his feet even. And I think Tom Brady even commented on the broadcast that he was too close to Connor Williams. But generally, when you see the quarterback lined up behind center, he has 1 foot back. And yes. I think it's because that way the lineman can take a step back for leverage if he needs to. Gino had his feet even. And looking back at that play, I could see why maybe those two weren't in sync.
100% right on that. And yeah, Brady called that out exactly as you said it. He took it he said, look, when we were at the goal line, I would stagger my feet. And
he did. Okay.
He said exactly. He's like, I would stagger my feet so that doesn't happen. So you're very perceptive. You picked it up as well. And Brady was talking about it too. One thing before we get to Lloydzilla or others that are talking too, you mentioned being under center. And again, I realized you didn't get the TV copy. And then if you watch back, you might not have seen everything. Brady was banging on Grubb, being like this is what happens when you sit back in shotgun and you just get teed off on. But they showed a graphic on the bottom left hand of the screen when they were talking about this, and it was a graphic like Seattle is like second most in shotgun and 32nd play action percentage, 32nd in the league, 32nd. So how are we going to help ourselves? How are we going to help our quarterback? How are we going to run the ball more effectively? How are we going to suck in linebackers to open up the middle of the field. If anybody watched Arthur Smith and Russell Wilson last night, you saw what you could do. And it was just on repeat. And for us to be in play action or under center with play action so little, it's mind-boggling, Brandon. It's mind-boggling. And man, oh man, Adam, I know Adam doesn't want to take a Cadillac trot on this around the grub thing. He's the only dude out there, you and him, both of you all deserve credit, that were at the forefront being like, look, this may not work if Grubb just does what he did at Washington. And people are like, you're out of your mind. He's saying he's going to run the ball. It'll be NFL. He'll adapt. It's 8 weeks. He's not adapting. 12% play action when you got legitimate running backs and threats. Brandon, make it make sense. I'm not sure if you can.
Okay, but I'm kind of getting to the point too where, and one of the things that I did pick up on in some of the broadcasts, because I listened to it more than watching some of the elements on screen. And
Right.
One of the things I picked up through the commentary, because they do those pre-production meetings with the coaches.
Yeah.
And trying to get an idea of why they wouldn't be running the football more. And a lot of the commentary centered around that idea of maybe this offensive line isn't good at running the football. And we've seen a lot of evidence of that, right? Because 3rd and 1, they actually go with a heavy goal line package. And by the time Geno turns around to hand the football off to Ken Walker, there's already 2 dudes that are 3 yards deep into the backfield. I mean, a couple of those guys getting pushed immediately off the ball. Jarrell Olaying a guy, and Brady Russell, who is in the backfield to be the de facto fullback, is getting blown up. And so I think that it might be that they're doing the best they can with the offensive line package that they have. And I'm actually starting to resign to that a little bit more than I am leaning it completely on Ryan Grubb.
I can dive into that. Like, I can absorb that and begin to start to accept portions of that, because I don't think it's wrong, right? It's like, okay, we don't have the dogs. We don't have the horses. We can't go do that. It's proving out we can't go do that. However, when you do commit to it and you do get under center, even if it's not that successful, I will say to your point, look, he's trying to hand the ball off to K9 at the goal line, and there's 3 guys just basically ready to take the handoff from Geno, essentially, right? And they're tackling K9 for a loss. But if you're under center more often, even if you're not successful, then guess what? Geno could pull that thing, boot, and you probably got a tight end wide friggin' open, because they will believe it's you got to be able to sell the play action that if you're under center, you might just run the dang ball.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's a little bit of that too, that you purposely make yourself more one-dimensional than what a NFL team strives to be in 2024. And really, really for the last 30 years of football, to be honest. So that's the other counterbalance to that, Brandon, that I would argue back and say, sure, yes, still got to, so you could set up those play action plays, because you need play action in the NFL to scheme dudes open. So,
and this is the other part too, Topwater saying, do we have tight ends? And one of the things that was evident, and it just was the contrast between the Bills and the Seahawks. And this is one thing that I don't think came through via the TV, but if you were at the stadium and they were announcing routinely number 70 is reporting as eligible, and they were loading up the line. And generally when 70 was coming in and blocking on the end, it meant they were running the play, or they were going to run the football, and they were probably going to run it on that side, and it didn't matter. So I think that there are other things that you can do as a professional team to load up that line and say, we're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball, and we're just going to be better at you doing it. There is none of that going on for the Seahawks. I'm
going to make us all a major. I'm going to strike a deal right here. This is huge. This is a big deal, right? This is going to go down in the hierarchy of humanhood. George Fant comes back, right? We put him as the sixth guy, right? The sixth lineman. And he goes out and catches a pass from the position. So we get it all. He goes on their center. We get George Fant out there in position 6. We pull it back, and George Fant gets a little out and maybe catches a 2-yard out, and we get everything in one bundle. We could celebrate that
You
as
get a
in next
double
week.
Fant reception package.
Yeah. Double, 2 Fants. Gino pulls it back, hits one of the Fants, and I think it's George. All right, let us get back to, thank you, Amy. She's there with it. All right, let's get back to the Discord. We got Lloydzilla, who is amazing as well. In an alternate universe where we drafted Josh Allen, can snap the ball to our QB, don't trip him up or ourselves, and don't give away stupid penalties. And if you remember back in the day, John Schneider was enamored with Josh Allen. There was all those rumors that we were trying to potentially trade Russ and go snag that pick and try to go way up, probably even higher than the Bills went, to go get Josh Allen. So I think Lloydzilla is right. In some other version of the multiverse, that is exactly what happened.
We've got Lloydzilla with the out, another out. Woolen completely whiffing on coverage for the Bills' second TD, and you called that out earlier.
Oh, nice.
Tough game for Woolen with 2 touchdowns allowed. The first one,
that's not his fault. That's a great play.
That was a good throw and catch.
I mean, it
counts against him though.
Sure, it counts against him, and that's why whatever PFF, and I like it. It's a nice barometer, but you got to tip your cap. That is an all-pro quarterback making an amazing throw, but then you got to give love to Keon Coleman, who's a rookie, because the dude he doesn't just like he pins it with his right arm, and Woolen's hand is right through there, and he kind of like purposely drops it into his left arm that's free. Otherwise, Woolen was about to rip that thing out. Like he does like a pin, and then he pushes it down to his other arm. It's just savvy. Like Woolen did so good. He broke up the play before that where they were yapping at each other, and he got. But I mean, like you tip your cap and say, dude, that's a great play all around by the Buffalo Bills. What can you do, right? So, but to Lloydzilla's point, still a rough day for Woolen. All right, we got Northwest Gambit saying out. Ryan Grubb offense has no run game, 9 attempts for K9 and 3 for Sharps. Yeah, we were taken fully out of the run game and could never get back to it. I know we've drained the Ryan Grubb conversation by now.
We have, and we go to Hawk Van Dyke to help close this out.
Yes.
Giving the out to the NFL. Thank you, NFL, for giving your Lambs 3 extra days before the Seahawks game. Hashtagging it, the NFL must happen in LA.
Yeah. Well, Bloomy's been on this for quite a while. The one thing I'll say about Bloomy's philosophies are I definitely pay attention to it more, right? That it's like, oh, they're coming off a mini bye, and that's not good. That's not good for our deal. Or, hey, we're going into a mini bye versus Atlanta. We'll probably be a little bit more fresh and a little bit more prepared than a regular week or certainly a short week. So I do understand that.
It gives us an excuse as fans in some cases. I think that's helpful.
Yeah. Well, what's not helpful, one of the things we wrapped on in the post-game show was that we're about to go face this Rams team. They're healthier for sure. And in many ways, I don't think they're as talented as Buffalo across the board, but in many ways, I kind of feel like they want to do the same exact things that the Bills do. And they're good at it, and we have not stopped them for a number of years. So what do you think? Can we stop? I mean, it's very simple for me. Can we not do dumb things?
Uh-huh.
And can we stop Kyron Williams? Is that possible?
I think there are ways to stop them. I feel like you're right though. It's going to be a very similar game. And I feel like the strategy is try and outscore them as opposed to try and hold them defensively and hope that you get more turnovers than they do. And to this point, it hasn't happened a whole lot, but I think that this defense that we're going up against for the Rams is probably the worst defense that we've seen for a few years. And that gives us an opportunity to score more points.
Yeah, well, I think you said it as possible right now, and it's only Tuesday, so news will break. Injuries, whatever may happen. We'll see how it rotates forward in the week. We got lots more shows to come this week. When's the Let's Tell Folks Live? When do you expect the flagship out? Is that could be out Wednesday, out Thursday? What are you thinking?
Yeah, look for it on Thursday. We're recording this Tuesday night. We'll probably record flagship Wednesday night, and look for that on Thursday sometime.
Awesome. All right. Then we of course will have our preview show, Mr. Phil, later as well in the week, Thursday or Friday. And then we will be doing a PNW Prop Stars where might as well tell folks, Brandon's going to be taking my place. I'm taking a little 4-day jaunt down to Florida with some buddies that I went to high school and college with. So I'll be watching the games. I'll be kind of chiming in post game and all that jazz, but I'm getting a little fun in the sun and getting the heck out of Connecticut for a few days. I'm going to go enjoy some post-hurricane Florida that's bouncing back. So looking forward to that. I look, we're 4-4. The division, Arizona's 4-4. The Niners are 4-4. The Rams are 3-4. So as pessimistic as I've been, which for me is not where I usually stay. I'm a very optimistic person in general. So as pessimistic as I've been, I want to end on positivity that if and when we win this game, we are at least tied for first place in the NFC West, Brandon.
Hey, and I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.